When you make the move and when you're doing everything you're supposed to do, I believe the universe conspires to make sure everything is where it needs to be. But it does not mean there won't be moments of doubt, struggle, some tears. I've had a few, like I said, where I've been at the tuition office, like, oh God, but, and still, I said, I'm getting off topic, but.
Right.
So you go from that, then you have a video that just goes viral, like you with your baby on the train, just a normal day, and you burst out in a classic track, classic song, everybody singing along. Did you expect that video to go viral?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Now, that was a part of my friend, Avery R. Young, who's also another brilliant Chicago artist and writer, poet, just thought machine. He had the idea to do programming on the train, him and the Floating Museum. They did this installation where they wanted performances. You know how we always, being from Chicago, you always see performances on the
platforms, yeah.
Push it, push it a bit further and do the performances on the train car so that people get the experience of Chicago street performance the full way. And so I said, cool, sign me up. I'm down. Let's do it. But because I'm not going to clock in at like a 9 to 5 every day, I don't have traditional childcare because I'm home with my baby. And so I said, cool, Avery, I'm down to do it. Just, I'm going to bring my baby Mason with me. That was September. So Mason was like maybe 6 or 7 months old. He was a baby.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm just put this little Moby wrap on. You know how moms do. We just get it done. It was out of necessity.
Asking.
I'm like, I'm from Chicago. Bringing the baby on a train in a stroller during lunch hour, not going to happen.
Yeah.
I said, he's light enough. We're going to tie him up here. We're going to do the show. It's going to be what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then that happened. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So forget all the other stuff that I've done, all the glamorous, like I've got a gown and we're performing at Millennium Park or The Voice or whatever. It's like, this is what, and I'm like, yes, I love it because that is real life.
Yeah.
That's
what I connected to when I saw it. The first thing I noticed was the baby. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that's motherhood right there. That is literally motherhood, where we are working. The baby is with us. And I would have did like you, because on the train, I don't want to have a stroller. I want my baby close to me. So I would have done the same thing. But I was like, this is motherhood. Like, this is what we do. And then you started singing my jam, and I was like, she's singing like she is jamming. Baby just right there, enjoying. I thought that was it was very organic, you know what I mean? And I think, everybody likes the glitz and the glam and the, performances that you think about and you're working on. But that just seems so in the moment and so authentic and real. You know what I mean? I think that's what people really connected with,
So I've learned, but yeah, I mean, it don't get more authentic than that, because we just showed up and, we even kind of freestyled that. We didn't, of course, the song is an established, well-known song, but we kind of freestyled the set. Corey Wilkes was also on the train that day. He was like, I'm just going to bring my beat pad. I'm going to just play some stuff and you can put some stuff on top of it. And that's just how we did it. So in every sense of the way, it was organic. But what I loved most about it is the people that it brought closer to me. At a time that I was really seeking community that could understand me, I think a lot of times you have you need to be artist over here,
Yeah.
over here. And I was keeping those worlds so separate, and it was exhausting.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first acts of kind of resistance for me, that I was like, I am not separating these worlds anymore. I am one holistic, complex person.
Yeah.
And I'm a singer, and that's a part of, that's my career, my job, but I'm also a mother. And that's also my full-time job and responsibility. And trying to separate those had just gotten to a point where it's like, look, girl, okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to blend those things up. And that video, as much joy as other people say they got from it, it really blessed me, because it introduced me to other people who are like these warrior mamas who just get stuff done, who multitask, who are doing their own respective jobs, but still caring for their children, doing all the things that we do. And so it was really affirming to find that community of people.
I think especially, and I've talked about this with girlfriends, like, especially as Black women, we wear so many hats. Wife, girlfriend, mother, caregiver, employee, creative. And I, like you, would feel like I had to put one hat down to put another one up. And then I felt like an octopus. Yeah. And I'm drained and I'm worn out, and I am just not being a good creative or a good mom at this point, because I'm operating at half staff all the time. And just like you, it wasn't until I had to kind of just ignore what I felt society told me I needed to do, as far as put this over here and put this over there. And I really felt it because one of the songs that I did was very sexual in nature, very erotic. And everybody wanted me to separate. And I said, but I'm a woman. Like, I'm all of these things. I can be all of these things. I can be conscious. I can be maternal. I can be feminine, sexual. I can be all of those things and still, be whole. And I just find, I don't know why we do this to each other, where we try to, divvy up and piece ourselves out in these different places, because all of them need all of us. My kids need my creativity. You know what I mean? They need that. They need to see their mom being an artist and being creative. They need to see me being maternal. I bring that kind of nurturing into everything that I do. So it's something I think was kind of passed down, and I'm like you, like, we're going to stop this. We're going to be whole and complete.
We're learning and unlearning so much. But I think you're absolutely right. Once I had my kids, I'm like, I want to give you permission to be a full, complex individual. Yes. And what is the best way to give you permission is not just saying it out of my mouth to say, oh, go try and do this and be that. And you can, we tell our kids, you can be anything you want to be. But then we're like, oh, but I can't do that. I have to be this. And so I'm like, you know what? Challenging myself to be the example, not just for how you work hard. And, I don't knock that. I feel like everybody, that's another affirmation. Work hard, play hard. And play hard. To work smart, play hard. Because I don't always believe that we have to be working hard.
I always say work smarter, not harder,
And so I was like, you know what? I want them to see me at least give it a shot. And of course, if it were a situation where I am bringing home $50 every week and I can't put food on the table for them or things like that, then of course we need to reevaluate. And because first and foremost, I have to provide for
right.
But thankfully, I've been able to do that with something that I really enjoy.
And your kids get to see that it's possible. I watched my mom set a goal, have a dream, and she pursued it. Yep. And I think that's what our kids remember more than anything. My dad wasn't the most successful, but I remember the joy he felt doing what he loved. And he would say, I do it for free. That's how much he loved it. A lot of times where he would say, I would do it for free. And that sticks with you as a child, So I think, showing our kids is the best example we can do. We can tell them, but it's nothing like them being able to see it in real time. So talk to me. I know you have a record coming out that's more house, but before that would you categorize yourself as a soul singer? Or do you even put a genre to what your music?
I'm so glad you gave me that out to say, because I don't know. I've always been this way. I like what I like. I call it expressive or emotive. I'm sure that's not a genre, but I don't know. I'm not real big on labels. I do soul, I do R&B. I like rock, and I like jazz. I do some jazzy things, and I've been I'm not gonna say I've been introduced, but my family grew up listening to all kinds of things. Everything from three tenors to Steve Vai to Anita Baker, all the classics, Ohio Players, you name it, in my family somewhere it's been played, with the exception of no, because that's been played too. My sister used to listen to scream rock when she was in high school, and I have appreciation for all of it. And whatever my voice can do, I'm willing to try it. As long as it feels authentic and genuine to me, I'll take a stab at it. So I don't know what genre. I guess somebody would classify that as soul, since it's all coming from, the inside of me.
And I think that's the best category when it comes from deep, whatever, because I feel like soul music, everything comes from soul music, honestly. And so,
So I guess if we had to put a label on it, it
would be a soul.
Now, what that sounds like is going to be different than what we know soul to be, but yeah.
Whatever, I always say, if Terry would say, there's no such thing as genres to me. It's good music and bad music. It's good music and bad music. You either like it or you don't. It feels good or it doesn't. So
simple as that. But yep.
So what do you have working on besides what we're getting ready to talk about, which is your foray into house music? But what else? Do you have anything else in the works?
I've got so many songs that were in the works or currently in the works, but then the world turned upside down.
I know.
So in February, I released a song called Roses that is really dear still to my heart, that I have been wanting to put out for a long while, but I think before we released it, everything kind of just lined up the right way to finally feel good about releasing it February 14th. And Roses is just talking about kind of what we were just discussing, how we allow fear to paralyze us, and how it's our duty to give our roses while we're here. And a lot of times people, you hear the phrase, well, give me my roses, while I'm here. But it's our job to give the love, like the gifts that we have, because tomorrow is not promised. And we've seen that so clearly now. In the blink of an eye, things can change drastically. And we're somewhere. And when I say we, basically talking to myself, it's like, man, you sitting around, sitting on songs, thinking that you can do them next week, thinking you can do them next month, next year, where you don't know if this is the very thing that you need to hear or somebody else needs to hear. And you might not be here next year to give that song. Like, you need to be playing around with that. So the song basically says, don't save your sorries for the last goodbye. Let's give our roses while we're here. In the moments where we're most afraid, so paralyzed by our fear. But what if the sun didn't split the night sky? And what if the moon didn't call the tide? Or what if the flowers had no courage to bloom? And what if the wind second guessed its tune? And so it's just
Ooh.
It's like a call of action to,
Yes.
to say, come on, let's get with it. let's get on.
What that again, when I say like collective consciousness, who knew after you did this song, the world's going to shut down? And the play, like I always, the playing field was like rich, poor, doesn't matter. We were all shut down. And to me, that was the moment where everything I had to hit the reset button and really start. Nothing's guaranteed to me anymore. So what am I not doing? What music am I not making? What writing? I was so busy running, mom, juggling all kinds of stuff. And then it was like, oh, I don't have time to write. Oh, I have to do this. And I have to write an assignment. I didn't have time to write. Now it's like, you have nothing but time now. So now what are you going to do? You have nothing but space to create. Did you find, and I've asked this to every artist, the initial shutdown kind of paralyzed me where I was just like, well, what's going on? And I didn't really have anything. I didn't want to write initially because I had so many thoughts and I wasn't able to, I didn't know what I wanted to write. They were just all in here. Did you have a moment of pause like, okay, what's going on? Because I said I don't know about you, but every gig I had, every travel plan, every vacation, everything was just canceled and it was happening so quickly. It was it shook me for a minute where I had to kind of get my bearings. Did you have that moment creatively where, you were like, wait a second? Yeah.
Absolutely. I absolutely did. And I try not to judge anybody. And I've been working on judging myself even less harshly. But I second guess, or I think twice about people that did not have a pause, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting because life as we know it is literally changing. And I just wanted to sit in the gravity of what that meant. Like, what does it mean for life to be taking this huge shift? But I will say, of course, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I felt this shift happening. I mean, we were reaching a boiling point just energetically where something was going to have to happen. Now, did I know that was going to manifest in the form of COVID-19? Absolutely not. Right. It was even more than I thought it could ever be. When you think a shift is coming, but then it actually comes and you're like, oh, this is what that is. Okay. Right. But yeah, I definitely took a pause. I wanted to hold reverence for how greatly, people's lives were affected. Lives that were lost. It just felt, and especially, so Roses was released February 14th.
Yep.
And my gig started getting canceled. My last live gig when all this stuff happened was March 12th. So it wasn't even a month after this release that we had been really gearing up for. I had live, performances scheduled, like different PR and TV appearances lined up that all got canceled. And you know how this feels to be working to release something and you want to lay it all out and then it's all snatched from you. So I was like, okay, especially because of the nature of the song, it was almost like, is this really happening right after I release this song?
Right.
This song? I just had to pause to try to just wrap my mind around as much as I could, because my mind's still not wrapped around.
I know, right?
But enough to just say, okay, because I don't sing just for the sake of opening my mouth to hear myself sing, this might be too transparent, but sometimes I don't even like to hear myself sing. I'm not singing just because it's like, oh, I really love the way I sound. It's more so of, to say something. And in that moment, I had to pause to even hear what to say.
What to say.
And I'm like, I'm not going to sing.
Great way to describe it.
until I know what to say, because I don't know what's but I will say this great pause that everyone is experiencing. It doesn't matter if you're Black, if you're white, if you're male, female, American, non-American, the entire world has felt this. And while I hate that it has had to happen and take lives, and all of the devastation that we've had to witness, and the sorrow and the trauma, I'm grateful that this, like nothing else has ever done, has shown us, hopefully, compassion for everyone.
Yeah.
And I really feel like if you can't find compassion in this moment, I don't know how you find that compassion. And so it lets me know very clearly where compassion is possible and where compassion is not possible.
Yeah.
And then we can make our decisions accordingly.
I think that is well said. It's been, what is the saying? It was like, out of great pain comes great art. And I was reading a thing that was saying, these past few years culminating with this year has literally just been this explosion of Black creativity. Because it's coming out of such a robust place, you know what I mean? It's to have a pandemic and a revolution all kind of happening, right now. Like, you hate to say it, but the art that's being created out of this, the music, the writing, all of it just coming out. That's the thing that I think is the last thing. When you look back at the history books and read about this moment, we will be talking about the music and the art and the writing and the creativity, the ingenuity of creatives who couldn't see you live, but now we're going virtual and doing drive-in concerts. And I was telling Terry, I've seen a drive-in comedy show. I've seen a drive-in concert. My kids have been to the drive-in for the first time. All these things that I would have never thought I'd be doing around this time. And to see people, particularly creatives, that are like, okay, how do I take this and still connect with my audience? How do I take what's happening and still put out good stuff for people, good content for people to consume? How do I still remain connected to my fan base, to my community, to what's going on in the world? And they've been making it happen. And some beautiful things have been coming out of it. It's just, you get to see in some of the worst of times, you get to see us shine in such a beautiful way, That's
what we do.
Yes.
We got that. We've got that. I agree with you. I agree. And I think, it's the ingenuity that's always been there that we haven't had access to.
Yes.
That is just like, oh my gosh, it's like exploring this whole new bag of gems. That they've been there. People have been shining, but you've been so consumed with what's happening right here, that we haven't, had access to all those things. So I'm here for it. I am here for it.
It's a joy. Okay, he just texted me and said we're on for 4. Okay, then I'm gonna stop here, pause, drink something before they come in, because I need something to drink.
Cool. And you know what? While we do pause, when you were talking, it made me think about these shirts that I did. I'm gonna show you one while we're on a little break.
Okay. Stuff up.
Oh Lord.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, boy, this collective conscious ain't working.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it for me. That has been if there was a life lesson, that was my life lesson.
Yep.
I've had to learn, because anytime I've been scared to do something, it has taken me to another level.
Right.
And do it afraid.
So I'm just out here. I had 10 of them. I created this shirt when I was doing roses.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how artists, we get our merch and sell merch at the shows. But because of COVID, all my gigs got canceled. I'm sitting around here with a box of shirts. Right. I opened it up on Facebook about a week or so ago to sell the last few I had.
Mm-hmm.
And the response was really great. So I just, did another order. So hopefully everybody is getting in.
Yeah. I got to get one of those, because I love that's the phrase right there.
I'll send you the link.
Yes.
Like, okay, so hopefully we start just having these conversations where people think like, I just got off the phone with a girl from Houston who wants to be a singer. And, people will think like, oh, she's not afraid. She's done this and she's done that. She's like, she does this. This is good. Yeah. I'm like, no, baby, let me tell you, I still get nervous.
Yep. We just make it look like it's not.
Exactly.
Nerves, doubt, moments of self-doubt, all of those things creep up.
Yes.
They always, and you wouldn't be, if I get to the point where I'm just like not scared, or I would be concerned, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly what I told her. I was like, if you weren't scared, I'd be like, I don't know about that.
All right. Well, we just finished talking about Meagan's career and going viral, kids, family, everything. We had a nice conversation. So now I would like to get into the record you guys are getting ready to do, and Meagan making her introduction to the house scene. So can you guys tell me how all of this even happened? How did you guys all connect with each other?
I'll start. So for anybody that doesn't know Jeff Dillard, he's been an attorney in the industry for quite some time, and he's also a songwriter. So Jeff and I have collaborated on different things creatively in addition to doing business. And he came to me like, man, I have this new artist that I met that I really think you should meet. She's amazing. She's been on The Voice before. I listened to some of her stuff online. I was like, absolutely, have her come by. So we that's how we met, was Jeff, being excited about Meagan and introducing us. And this particular track, I actually had like a really primitive skeleton of the track already. It was something that I started working on, and I got a collaborator named Shabazz Curtis that plays keys that came over, and he elaborated on the idea with the keyboards. And I had the dee-dee-da-dee-da hook, whatever part that was going to be. I had that in my head, and I had no idea what that was at all. And Jeff took that and made it into an actual concept. Jeff, what made you think of that idea for the song?
Yeah, that's interesting. When Emac, I said, well, let me hear the track and what you have. And he sang it and he said, D-T-Dot. I'm like, okay, go ahead, give me the rest of it. It's like, no, that's it. That's it. But it was such a hot track, and it's just interesting how even tracks can actually say something to you. At least to me, the track itself said something to me. It says something about sort of like being free, being whimsical, if you would. And so I just kind of thought of those words sort of being a code for a person telling themselves, it's time for me to release or to relax. Those those are my code words. And so even though I'm going through all these things in life, I can just in my mind and in my soul just say these words, and I am transported to another place. And that place often being out on the dance floor, listening to some Terry Hunter and Immaculate music, and that just frees me up. And so that's just really, the thought behind it. And it came together pretty quickly. I mean, I think we wrote most of the song, within a half an hour, 20 minutes, something like that. And, and then once Meagan heard it, she added some flavor to it. And what I like about her is she's so honest as an artist. So she really has to feel something or find some truthfulness in what she's singing in order for her to actually sort of live in it. And so it just all came together, and I think we came up with a pretty hot song.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I can't remember if this happened before you wrote the initial lyrics or after, but I just remember Meagan was over one time, and the three of us were listening to different ideas. And I just thought the jazziness of the track matched her style. And Meagan, you reacted to it right away. Like, how did you feel about it? Like, from your perspective as the artist entering into this new thing, like, how did you feel about that part of it?
I felt really good about it. And so now this is being recorded, and this is on the record that Jeff said nice things about me. I'm very excited. But the greatest compliment that you could ever give me is that I'm honest as an artist, because that's what I strive for. I don't know how to be any other way. And I don't think that it would have worked if it didn't feel natural or like I could connect to it. But when you played it, and then the concept with the getaway, it found me at a time where it was like, oh yes, I resonate with this. And we were just talking about Black Widow and I were just talking about how as a woman, and particularly a Black woman, you wear all of these different hats, and then you get to a place where you just feeling like an octopus. And when I heard that song, I was like, yes, sign me up. Okay. Because I need that da code word to take me to another place. And so it felt really good.
Well, Meagan, this is your first time, or this is your kind of intro into house music. How did it feel hearing like this dance track? It kind of sucks that we're not going to be able to see people actually, in the club dancing to it, but doing house music, obviously we knew you could sing it from the viral video and things, but what were your thoughts when you initially heard the track and possibly coming into a different audience, this house audience?
Yeah, well, I think everybody here, Jeff, Emac, and Terry, at some point I've brought to them, I don't want to approach this. I always honor the art form, whatever it is, and house being no different. I didn't want to come in inauthentic just because, people heard me hearing or singing house music on the train. Now she's about to do a house track. I never wanted it to come across like that. So I studied and listened to some things, and the track just felt right. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like, oh, we got this house track, just put your vocals on top of it. Yeah. Like Max said, the jazzy elements that you'll find at the end of the song, especially, those are what I do when I'm singing with a big band or with a 3-piece trio, and it's just over, we've just transferred it over. But it's all just like an amalgamation of something that I've already been doing. Now we're just gonna dance to it.
That's right.
So there was a point that we had the idea good enough, and Terry and I, like, whether it's me mixing records for him or he's in the middle of a beat and he'll say, what you think about this? I was thinking this. And I always run my ideas past him, and we're on the phone with Joey listening to mixes. And we're just constantly like, we have our own brain trust creatively. So it got to a point where I felt like, all right, I want to let Terry hear this and see what he thinks about it. Is this something we could put out on the label? and I sent it to him. And Terry, I'll let you speak for yourself on how you felt about it, and then how did you get involved, and what was your perspective of it, and what you felt like you could add, and all of what you did.
Yeah. So for me, to kind of piggyback what you just said, I heard the track, and immediately, we are brutally honest, I would say, with one another. And I think that's the type of team that if you're dealing with music or anything else, that you have someone to pick up the slack, and B, someone that can tell you, yeah, it's cool, or it needs this and needs that. And we tend to trust our judgment to whatever it is that the track may need. And so I remember hearing the track first and loved the track off the bat. And then I remember Meagan coming over, and that was my first time meeting her, and she cut the record at the house, at my studio. And I was kind of, I didn't want to mess up the vibe of that. So I was kind of downstairs hearing everything that was going on, and just kind of like coming back up, popping up, seeing what was going on. And I'm like, oh my God. It is incredible. And so from that point, I don't remember how we got to where we got to, or what we said, E. You can kind of refresh my memory, but I know I was like, yo, I hear some things as far as the beat to this. And you was like, man, let's just finish this up together.
No, because what it was, is to interject with that, was that I hadn't really spent a lot of time on the drums initially. Like, the music was pretty well developed out, but like the drum track was still really a skeleton. It was pretty generic. Right. And you were like, I'm gonna be honest though, I will go a whole different route with these drums. Right. I was like, man, I'm sending you the stems, do you?
Right.
And then I also remember, if I remember correctly, when we were in the midst of that session and you were popping back up, we hadn't done the scat part yet. And you asked Meagan, correct me if I'm wrong, Meagan, he was like, Meagan, do you scat? And Meagan said, well, I have a version of scatting that I do. I have a Meagan version of scatting. We were like, do that. And that's what that vamp part of the record. That's how that. So that was a suggestion that you had given in the session.
Yeah. And so she did it and nailed it. And obviously hearing that, me being a DJ first, producer, remixer second, my mind went to Foxy. Like, this is reminding me of Foxy. I want to recreate that drum feel of Foxy. And a lot of us are fortunate to have stems, and You're telling too much. I'm just joking. We just, we do what we do. Like, I ain't scared. but we went in, I was really listening. And actually, I was just listening to what the record was doing movement-wise and what Meagan was doing, and she was killing it. And I'm like, yo, we need to bring that sound to 2020 and beyond. And that's when I kind of just went in my headspace and just tried to recreate that Foxy feel to now. And it worked. Man, it was just like the glue. Everything kind of came together. It felt right. We went back and we added live bass on it. Shout out to my man, Jay Bass, for lacing us with the bass. But it's just such an incredible song. I remember playing it at our Chosen Few Virtual Festival. And that was the first time I've played in a room where it felt like we were in a club, and just to really hear the vibrations from that song, and just Meagan, she was doing this, and it was like, yeah. And she said, yeah, we finna take off now. And then man, I tell you, it was one point I was working that record so hard, I wanted to leave the DJ booth and go out on the deck. So not only does she murder the record, it's the vibe, man. It's just, as these young folks say, it's a vibe. It's straight up. That message is get away. That applies for men too. You know what I mean? So it is just a great song.
Meagan, we were talking about the timing of records and when they come out. So I said the timing of this track right now is something that everybody can relate to, that need to get away. And with everything going on, moment where we just need a release of some sort. So I just find it interesting that we were literally just talking about just the timing of records and how they come out exactly when they're supposed to.
And I think this is a further nod to also what we were discussing, just saying yes, just showing up and saying yes to an opportunity. Because I met Jeff through another mutual friend, and I was like, okay, sure, let's have the meeting. And then Jeff, connected me with Emac, which we had learned that we had met maybe a decade before, but it wasn't the right time. And then Emac looping in Terry, and I'm a firm believer in that. Like, you just show up, you say yes to some stuff, and whatever comes of it, great. But all I'm just trying to do is be obedient, and the timing is perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing to add with that, this is a fun record. Like, I don't think this record has a age limit to it, if that makes any sense. I think kids will love the record, and obviously people that is just great lovers of musicianship and songwriting and singing will love it. Also, people that has never been exposed to this type of sound before will adapt to it. And I use my kids as a barometer, because Ty, he's 13, and then my oldest son is 23, is that I look at them and they don't understand. They think they hanging out with Pops, and I'm kind of looking at them to see, all right, how they gonna react to this? How they gonna move to this? And that's kind of like my gauge on if we're onto something. And when they heard the finished version of that record, both of them was like, oh, that's bad, Dad. That's hot. That's hot. And I remember,
that's good.
Remember, asked me, he says, whew, she can really sing, Dad, huh? Now, I didn't work with people that know me and know I work with a lot of singers. He ain't never said that. So, salute to you, sister.
Absolutely.
You know what's funny about that, too, is like, so I had listened to a fair amount of songs that Meagan had recorded, some of them in demo form. And I heard her belt on the excerpt from The Voice and stuff like that. But I still, like, she has this kind of softer, not quite falsetto, but like this softer texture to a lot of her stuff that I had heard. So in this song, we were coaching her to sing the verses very soft. But when she hit those ad-libs at the end, like, I didn't know. It wasn't that I doubted, I just didn't know. But that was a moment. Like, Terry came from downstairs like, yo, no, he didn't. I correct myself. He texted me from downstairs. Yes, more of that. Like, when she went off on them ad-libs at the end, we were just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we got a record.
I think so.
I think so too.
Terry, I agree with you. I think, was I pregnant or just had the baby?
Just had the baby.
But Mason is a little over 1 now. And so I'm playing it around the house, just, getting a feel for it from different speakers or whatever. And now you hear him going, dee, dee, da, da, da. I'm like, okay, baby.
Right.
All through. Absolutely.
But it's crazy because he's like growing up with this music from the train to right now.
Yeah.
It's in his bones.
It's in his bones.
Yes. Come on through, young generation. Come on.
You know what? And that's so crazy. I think it's important to make this statement. Like, this idea, this record was already in process prior to that. As a matter of fact, I want to say it was like maybe 1 to 2 weeks before that, Meagan and Jeff were over at my house, and we were going through some of these ideas and situating this, as well as just talking about what she could do as a whole with her career and how to promote herself as an independent artist, and all these conversations we go through. And it was like the next week or two, this video just popped up. And I was seeing Defected share it. I was seeing Chosen Few share it. I was like, wow, we just got blessed. We just got blessed. Like, it wasn't contrived. It wasn't like, oh, let's find the woman who sang on the train and went viral and do a house record with her now. It was like, that just happened.
Wow. Exactly. When it happened, I was like,
She called me. Yeah. She was like, what do we do now?
I don't know what to do.
Right.
You got all these house people that have found me, and I'm like, but I don't know what to do. You're right about that.
And Meagan, even now, has an innocence about her talent. She still doesn't realize, how good she is. And so, we just trying to do everything we can to put her in the position because, see, I've heard her sing Aretha Franklin before. And I've heard her sing different artists. And I'm like, man, if we can ever bottle that, we'll be on to something because she speaks to a whole new generation of people. And I think we bottled it on this song, and it does hopefully says something to everybody, and it could not be more timely.
Like, I gotta
nice things about me today, Jeff.
I swear that, Jeff, like, because that to me, like, so Brandy, right, in the newer generation is one of my favorite singers. I think Brandy is so slept on her talents. I remember, I forget the name of the song. If y'all remember, please tell me. It's the joint that she did with Kanye. Kanye produced and rapped on the song. And I was just like, man, I love Brandy. Like, people are sleeping on her. I just really want her to come out her bag, like on one of these videos or when she's performing. And she did this run. If y'all go back and check the Brandy record that she did with Kanye, and she did this run, and I seen the confidence come out of her. And whatever the run was, she followed the run like this with her hand to let all the singers know, y'all can't
do this.
I'm that girl.
Right.
Meagan is what you said, Jeff. It's just kind of still very innocent, not really like, you guys sure I'm doing this right? And then when she hit that, oh my, that's like, I'm a little shy, but step up if you want it.
Yeah.
Step up if you want.
And you know what too, during that session, like Terry, I will attest to this too. When you're producing a singer and you're recording with them, it's kind of the producer's job to be somewhat of a coach and kind of know how much input to give, what's too much, but what's not enough, and then push them to get the best possible performance out of them. And so often we as producers may ask somebody to do more than what they want to do. And you can feel that coming from the artist. Like, if you're trying to push somebody in the studio, even if it's unspoken, you can feel the pushback sometimes. We were cutting those ad-libs. We did like 6 takes, and we had done like 3 or 4. And Meagan was like, give me another one.
Man,
let me do another one. And I turned around and I said, I like that in you. Like,
look, I remember that. I was in the studio then.
Yeah, I was like, all right, that says a lot about like that. It's things like that go on behind the scenes that I think, the majority of people don't realize that are like really important in as a producer, as a label. When you see that kind of character in an artist, that's equally important as their talent.
But I think that also has to do with the chemistry between a producer and the artist. Because when the chemistry is there, a producer can get everything they need out of you, but not everybody can do that. You know what I mean? That you have to feel safe, and I don't want to speak for you, Meagan, but I have to feel safe and comfortable for you, because I know, well, Terry, he'll talk very but he because that chemistry is there, and because he knows me, you're able to bring that extra, something that I didn't even know I can do out of me. Did you have some of those moments? I always like to talk about the process between artist and producer in the studio. Did you have some of those moments where he's bringing something out of you that you didn't think you were going to give him, or vice versa?
Well, I just felt like there was a very safe, mutual synergy where everyone could create and bring what they thought would lend itself best to the song. I felt very free to be myself, to approach things like I felt like they needed to be approached, and then at the end where I'm kind of doing the vamping, that was like one of the first times where it was just like, here's a track, go crazy, which is something that I would do in the live setting, but that hadn't really manifested itself in the recorded, space. And it just felt like, oh, welcome home. Let's get a little I'm like, I can do this. You mean I don't have to remember any lyrics right now? I don't have to remember any form. I just get away. I was like, sign me up. Let's go. And, that's how it happened.
That's one of the beautiful things about house music that I really enjoy as a producer, as a fan, and as a DJ is the freedom. And, we those of us that have worked in R&B or hip hop or other forms of music, pop music, and, you have so much formulaic structure. It's one of the really dope artistic things about house is that you can be free. It's not verse, B section, chorus, repeat, bridge, chorus, out. It's not so cookie cutter. Yeah. And we're making records thinking about the live experience, to your point, because it's most often when you're not in quarantine, right, enjoyed in a live setting. You know what I'm saying? So it is, that when people hear that, because we will get to party, and this record will still be alive. If they experience that vamp in a live setting, they're gonna let loose. I'm confident of that.
And I want to just add one more thing to the level of comfortability I had. Sometimes people were like, oh, well, you don't need to be that musical. Just sing it kind of like this because we want it to just be a hook or whatever. So you have all of these different elements that allowed me to not feel like, okay, you have to say soft, or you have to belt the entire time, or you have to do the hook, or you have to, it was just like, it was free to go wherever I wanted to go. And that felt really, really, really good.
That's really good to know that, especially to hear an artist of your caliber to say that, because I swear sometimes dealing with singers can be, even though people are not, like you said before, behind the scenes, and people have no idea what's going on and what's the intentions or how did that feel or whatever. It just feels good to hear that from an artist, because a lot of times us as producers, we don't really hear that from the artist. It's oh yeah, it's cool, you in the session, all right, cool. Record's done, I'm on to whatever else I'm on. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Mac. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, it felt right. It felt like I could bring my jazz chops, the chops I got in these different buckets, and just say, all right, kind of like a Thanksgiving dinner,
And you know what? Didn't we record that right before Thanksgiving? Because I remember us having a conversation about where you were.
Yes, because you're absolutely right. We sure did. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So when is the single dropping? Like, when is it dropping?
Well, it out. What's today? You know better than me.
Well, it will be out this weekend exclusively on TrackSource. Typically Thursday afternoon when the Weekend Weapons chart drops. So it will be out this weekend. It will be exclusively on TrackSource for 2 weeks. 2 weeks after, it will be everywhere. You could stream it on Spotify, Apple, Tidal. You can Shazam it. You can do whatever you do. Just make sure to purchase it and stream it legally.
Bye.
Please and thank you.
And to a lot of you out there, but if you're working on projects, when you hear this, I guarantee you're going to have to go to your producers and go back to the drawing board. He's not. I'm just keeping it 100.
Right.
Great.
Megan, I said we could probably talk all day. We had a good talk before y'all came on. So I appreciate you guys talking to me. Megan, you were a joy to talk to so much.
Thank you
Really
so much.
enjoyed it. And E, you didn't tell me she did the vocals on Love Manifesto.
Yes, I did. You don't listen. I sure did tell you that was the same person.
I gotta
I did
sing.
tell you that.
That's funny.
So you guys talked about that. So did we did mention that Black Widow has a new song coming out called Love Manifesto that her and I collaborated on, and Megan sung background vocals so graciously on. I'm
I
sure
don't remember that.
slight pitch right there.
Right. I love it. Thank you guys so much. I really, each and every one of you, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
That's
We
it.
appreciate you.
So shameless, Meagan McNeal, get away. Miro recordings. Go get that track source. And then after 2 weeks, everywhere where streaming is available. Let's go.
And it won't be the last one.
Right?
There you have it. Thanks for joining us with the Chat with T's box. Till the next episode, I'm Black Widow, Meagan McNeal, Jeffrey, Immaculate, Terry. Thank you so much for joining us. We will talk again soon.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Peace.
Take care.
All right.
Close my eyes to get away, and I just